All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our Logistic Forum channel, Logistic Today. I'm Lee as a moderator today. Recently, Earth landed with COVID-19 pandemic. Everyone encouraged to stay in home and to break the chain of COVID-19 transmission. And here I hope everyone who watching our forum, you our forum, stay home, stay safe. But anyhow, this pandemic will not stop us from deliver current issue on logistic industry to our audience. Thus, like what I said, COVID-19 affects our daily life seriously. At the same time, it not just impact our country's logistic activities, but it affects our other countries too. JNT employees strike by throwing customer packages, shipments stuck at customs. These issues happened recently. Hence, we have the pleasure to invite three experts from different industries to our forum to share some experience and knowledge with us. Firstly, Mr. Kimi, who is CEO from ABC Logistics, Ms. BALQIS from Ministry of International Trade and Industry, or we call it MITI, and Dr. Fatin from UN, which specialize in logistic research. So today we want to talk about worldwide logistic activities during COVID-19 pandemic.
Jangan you.
So our first question to Mr. Kimi. Was your logistic business facing any big problems or difficulties during this pandemic? Would you mind sharing some with us?
Thanks for the question, Mr. Lee. Yes, the pandemic has disrupted the supply chain of all logistic activities around the world. It presents vast logistic challenge everywhere. So there are four obstacles faced in logistic activities during the pandemic that I can share. So the first one is capacity evaporate. So in normal time, ocean freight is typically around 90% of global trade volume, but the pandemic initially curtailed the supply of manufactured goods out of my business, then ripple across the world where my company doing business at, and send demand for goods shipped by ocean freight plummeting. So ocean carriers responded by removing shipping capacity from the market, cancelling sailing, and eliminating trains where vessels call on several ports before reaching a final destination. Air freight capacity also dropped in large part because a significant portion of air cargo flies in the bellies of passenger flights, many of which were cancelled off as passenger traffic dried up. Meanwhile, driver shortage and cross-border restrictions shrank route freight capacity in certain places and lead to long backup and delays. So the second one is fluctuating demand. So COVID-19 has turbocharged the consumer shift to online buying. So our business in Italy face this problem as we still not selling our product online because e-commerce sale of consumer product rose by 81% in a single week in Italy, and the consumer will continue shopping online during the pandemic period, and this will lead to fluctuating in demand and eventually disrupted the logistic activity of my company. So the third one is geographical risk. This is because one of my company is located at the area of COVID-19 greatly started, which is China. So it will create their geographical risk for us. For example, at the start of pandemic, when China shuttered production, some US fashion retailers said more than 70% of their stock was sourced from the country. Disruption to its industries have left electronic retailers facing delays of 10 weeks on shipments. The same is true for our business. This will cause geographical risk like transportation delay and late delivery for the good to its location because of movement restriction order. And the last one is risk in inventory management. So consider the COVID-19 will affect the change in consumer demand that ripple through the supply chain at ever greater magnitude, creating long-term problem for production and supply. It can be seen in the one of surge in demand, for example, toilet paper during the pandemic, stock up 1 week, then excess inventory built up the next. From good delay to good unwanted, the pandemic has created chaos in our inventory management. So I think that will be all from me. Any question before ending my sharing?
Wow, it seems like a pandemic bring lots of negative impact on the logistic industry. But I trust that your efficient management team is able to handle this. By the way, our audience, Mr. Safwan, has one question here for you. So, Mr. Safwan, please.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. Okay, at the beginning of the pandemic, I read a news that say many countries had closed their border gates due to spread of COVID-19. So I wonder if closing the border gates of certain country would be an obstacle to the international logistic sector.
So thank you for the question, Mr. Safwan. Yes, we have to hold the shipment at the warehouse first because of freight routes to overseas such as Europe countries which are very serious in COVID-19 pandemic are cancelled. So we have to wait for new information from the government. This indirectly increase our cost on warehouse. That answer your question?
Yes, yes.
So if there is nothing else, so I want to ask you a question as well. So what are the obstacles faced in logistic activities during pandemic that I said before?
Oh, um, if I'm not mistaken, well, you have there are four obstacle that you say just now. Capacity evaporated, fluctuating demand, geographic risk, and distribute inventory management. Is that correct?
Yes, that.
All right, nice. Not just our experts focusing on presenting, but our audience are also focusing on listening. Thank you for your information, Mr. Kimi and Mr. Safwan. It's a truth that pandemic bring bad impact on logistic industry, but at the same time, it brings some good impact on some specific industries too. Thus, the question to Ms. Balqis, what is the impact of COVID-19 on the logistic industry or logistic related industry? Is it good or bad overall?
All right, thank you, Mr. Lee. All right, as you know, we now are facing the challenges where COVID-19 hits the world. Due that logistic activity around the world are not the same as before. So this COVID-19 has a big impact to the logistic industry. Logistic company connect firm to market by providing various services include multimodal transportation, orders, warehousing, and inventory management. So COVID-19 impact on logistics sector, we can observe the impact on freight capacity and three key global transportation segment which impact on airlines industry, impact on maritime sector, and impact on courier industry or e-commerce. So the first one is which impact on airlines industry. The airline sector is among the worst hit industry which has grounded most part by travel bans imposed to help to the spread of the virus. For example, Malaysia Airlines perhaps suspended 4,000 flights as of 18 2020. For the first time in history, no interstate operation in Peninsular Malaysia due to poor load factor, making it not economical viable to operate. Moreover, as the supply of international flights has dropped, this has impacted air freight as passenger flights also use their passenger cabin for parcel shipment to replace the losing in number of passengers. As the freight now stripping supply rates significantly and e-commerce parcel via sea freight is a much cheaper and potential faster methods. And the second one is which impact on maritime sector. Cargo damage and delay as supply chains come under the strain. You can see the COVID-19 pandemic has brought about sudden change for cargo transportation impacting shippers, air freight and transport company around the world. Although cargo transportation is widely recognized as essential activities, a number of cargo handling companies shut down operation during the outbreak while ports have been operating under restrictions. Moreover, cargo also stored in high risk area without appropriate security control or protective safeguard the risk of large losses from the fire or extreme weather event, while delay may also result in cargo damage to perishable or temperature sensitive goods.
Yeah, I saw those details on newspaper before. By the way, I heard that during the pandemic period, many people transfer their business from physical store onto internet platforms such as Facebook, Shopee, and so on. So, why this pandemic causing that this so?
So yeah, pandemic caused they do so because during pandemic period. So they encourage to stay home, and some business can even operate. So they transfer their business to online platform. This show that the e-commerce segment is one of the more thriving businesses during this pandemic, as more people switch to online purchasing. It can look when the Malaysia Post handle 730,000 parcels per day as the demand increasing by 108% during the MCO period as compared to only 350,000 per day in normal capacity.
Oh well, it looks like a pandemic brings both positive and negative impacts to worldwide. But I
Yeah.
trust that every sickness has a cure. So, Dr. Fatin, based on your previous research about the impact COVID-19 on logistics, do you have any solutions that can solve the current issue mentioned by Mr. Kimi just now? Or do you have any personal opinion for solving the logistic issue the entire world is facing right now?
Okay, thank you to Lee. So now I will tell you about my opinion um, about our logistic activity during pandemic period. So based on my previous research, so I found that logistic activity in global is still in immature. So how we can overcome and improve for our logistic activities during pandemic period. So first, okay, so we have to optimize of every operation, as we all know, to across every part of the logistic landscape, all kinds of company need to optimize their operation with data and technologies as critical enablers. Gaining greater supply chain visibility is key by collecting and sharing data to track packages in real time from point of origin to final destination. Um, this data can come from logistic companies' operational and planning system, from sensor in warehouse, on pallets in transit, and from telematics in trucks and or ships. Second is using data from sensor. There's more can be done to optimize roads using data by gaining the exact view of a package conditions and location at every stage, so logistic company can predict any disruption and when external data sources are integrated. So together with machine learning, then actually roads can be exchanged in real time. So serving the pharmaceutical market, for example, company can use sensor to monitor the temperature of package in real time. If it is varies beyond a certain tolerance, then an alert can be sent and corrective action taken, resulting in less waste, lower cost, and more on time deliveries. Okay. So last but not least, prepare logistic team. This is involved teaching staff how to handle custom clearance during a pandemic, preparing for additional quarantine measure, and preparing for new clearance procedure for medical supplies. For example, Amazon, who is actually the e-commerce giant, is not only provide delivery convenience and low price. The company is also become default retailer and essential service for many consumers at height of the coronavirus crisis. So, as we all know, the products to protect from the COVID-19 like hand sanitizer, face mask, and the disinfectants. They stock up to household products and grocery. Then as the crisis wore on, order office supplies and fitness gear to adjust to staying indoors. Between February until March, toilet paper sales jumped 186% on Amazon from a year ago, while cough and cold medicine sales surged 862% year over year, according to e-commerce service provider Commerce IQ. So, is that do you have any question?
Oh, thank you for your information, Dr. Fatin. As my opinion, those solutions are very efficient. So the solution you suggestion sound undoubtedly helping all the logistic company to overcome their problem faced during this pandemic. Well, I think Mr. Safwan have one more questions here. So, Mr. Safwan, please.
Thank you again, Mr. Lee. Okay, based on what you say, Dr. Fatin, using data from the sensor, which is one of the technologies. So, may I know how the technology will give the benefit to international logistics?
Okay, so the benefit of such technology are numerous. Platform and solutions such as mobile apps can help business improve data management, monitoring, and communication. So this lead to lower and more predictable supply chain costs as business no longer need to invest in their own infrastructure across various geography. Instead, they can leverage on the economy of scale from using existing warehouse network for consolidation and segregation of goods, ensuring flexibility and faster access to market. The use of technology also offer business the ability to track their inventories, helping to reduce uncertainty in their operation as they no longer need to stock up on goods unnecessarily. For transporter and their drivers, technology has led to reduce variety, time and energy process. This has in turn improved truck utilization, creating more jobs and higher income for drivers. Is that I answer your question?
Yes, yes, Dr. Fatin.
Okay, so actually, I have question for you, Safwan, for audience. Okay, why enable collaboration with network-based communication is one of the good way to overcome logistic communication challenge.
Um, okay. Thank you, Dr. Fatin. I will try to answer my best with my best. Okay. Based on my opinion, it might because of nowadays the logistic company no longer focus on singular geographic market. Instead, they are global organization that work in the independent network economy that require more collaboration and cooperation. And this new paradigm require an understanding of different market and all aspects of the supply chains that must be securely connected and communicated, and then to facilitate the necessary team collaboration, and it is important to use the right for internal communication. So mobile solution let worker communicate in real time, connecting everyone from frontline employees to corporate officer. Uh,
Oh,
is my question is alright? Is
Yes.
my answer okay?
all right. Thank you for the questions and answers. Look like not just our expert is knowledge in logistic industry, but our audience is also full with knowledge in logistic industry. So due to time constraints, I open one last questions for our audience. Mr. Safwan, do you have any last questions to ask?
Yes, Mr. Lee, I have one last question. I think for the um, speaker, second speaker, I think.
Oh,
Uh,
Miss
uh,
Balqis.
yes. I have the question is that there I found the statement. There is a statement in logistic industry from let's say from globalization to regionalization, and what Miss Balkis think about this statement and how regionalization will be the future for international logistics.
All right, thank you, Mr. Safwan. So, first of all, regionalization means that the logistic hubs will re-emerge at the regional level. So, it is to eliminate single source dependencies, and to establish a flexible and adaptable supply chain of product integrated subsystem supplier and component supplier will source, assemble, and deliver from their own backyard. So it will be one of the future for international logistics. I have seen the impact of global sourcing in the pharmaceutical industry in Europe during my research for these topics. So on base my research, I found out that 80% the active component of this supply was imported from China and India. In the future, its entire governments would ensure they could draw the supplier from their own region. So thus we could soon see the purposeful shift to regional sourcings. Yeah. That, answer your questions, Mr. Safwan?
Yes, I think.
All right. So, in conclusion, based on our opinions from three experts, I can conclude that pandemic bring both good and bad impacts to our logistics industry. But it's also a truth that the pandemic brings a lot of obstacles towards the logistics industry based on what Mr. Kimi said just now. However, I trust that logistics industry can be better in future because we as a human, we have the professional knowledge and also experience to adapt ourselves in a new environment, and we will figure out the solutions to solve out the problem we face currently. If we can go through 2008 financial crisis and other pandemic, which more serious that happened before, I'm confident that we can go through COVID-19 pandemic together. So every country is we must helping each other and support each other to go through this pandemic period. So I think that's all for forum this week. See you guys next week. Thank you.